Hello and welcome to another HBA video, another HBA recap. And this one's for the playoffs too. Second video for the HBA playoffs, and it's an exciting one. This time we're going to go over games 2 and 3 for the Eastern and Western Conference matchups. And as you can see, this is the trophy that they're all playing for. And the first couple games, pretty interesting. But now we're at game 2. Light Force and the Lakers are both at home. Let's just get straight into it. The first game of the evening was between the Minnesota Light Force and the Charlotte Spirits, and literally just before the end of the first, Sancho was injured, and more updates to come on his injury. Spoiler alert, nothing too serious, but we'll get into that a little bit later. As you can see by the block, it's looking pretty healthy still, but you can definitely tell that there's something bothering him. This game was pretty close. It was pretty much a battle, and that man right there, Royce, he could not miss when it was the buzzer. Buzzer beaters, just his thing, and he is wet like water, as Cash Nasty says. And in the first game for this Minnesota Light Force starting team, basically their main team that they rocked with the whole season, they were able to find some cohesion. They played pretty well, 48-41. But you're going to watch some pretty incredible things here by Jones. He misses the shot but gets his own board. And it quickly went from a 7-point game to a 1-point game right there. And just when you thought that the Light Force would be able to pack them up, the Spirits came back into this game. But it wouldn't matter, because Harold Burton was clutch, 4-point play. And despite this Jones 3, it didn't matter. They refused to foul lead, and ultimately the Minnesota Light Force, in the first game with their true starting lineup, they end up winning this game. And the audio was bad in the last video, so basically to summarize, the Minnesota Light Force weren't able to play with their main lineup because the coach forgot to put the actual lineup in before the assigned time. Skipping all that, checking out the stats, the Light Force just were overall a better shooting team, while the Spirits took more shots. The Light Force just did more with those shots. Jones ultimately had to kind of solo a little bit, but it wasn't enough. Light Force all around, great performances from Michaela, especially a power forward. You don't usually see power forwards really do that, but he has been really good this season and may potentially see his first real chance at an all-star appearance. And for many Light Force fans, that's what they're pushing for, and I know myself included. He's had a really great season. I'll try to see if I can get a good recap in, but we'll try to summarize basically the main points of the season. And of course, George, he had a great game as well. Burton didn't really show up as much on the stat sheet, but he still had a great game. And of course, Royce Lee was clutch the entire game. He ultimately showed up big time. The second game was, of course, the Kansas City Renegades taking on the LA Lakers. And this one was a fun game. Braun ends up making that shot right there. And while the box score may look pretty interesting, I would say, kind of looking like, okay, this game wasn't really like that close. For Lakers fans, this was definitely a game that they enjoyed for that fact. They had, of course, a bad game 1, but to come back at home, show up at the stadium, have a real impact, and then have their team kind of win this game. And I guess I'm spoiling it now. They ended up winning it if you didn't already win. The Lakers ended up winning this game by a pretty big margin. But to come back to LA after losing game 1, to get that major support from the fans really hits that and 1. Is really important, and it's really good for both teams too, for the Light Force as well to come back home and have your fans really engage in the moment, in the in the playoff atmosphere is really big. Magic's gonna step to the line, and this is a game just really a fouling at this point. As you can see, the Lakers are pretty much up, and this was basically the dagger. 43-57 game. Lakers come back home and dominate. I mean, looking at the stats, it was a pretty abysmal shooting performance from the Kansas City Renegades, and you couldn't have asked for a better shooting night from the Lakers. Just overall, they were not missing. James Harden, while the rest of the team didn't perform, this is the type of performances that you want from James Harden. One where he actually shows up and has some bit of significant outcome. Yes, 8 for 14 isn't great, but James Harden, you just want your shooting guard to really show up. He's going to be your main scorer. And at the end of the day, unless you're the Light Force, for any team in this playoff, your shooting guard is your most important element. For the Lakers, though, it was kind of both LeBron and Kobe showing up, which is big time. You need that in the playoffs. You need a really balanced team, and they're actually getting it here at home. Now the question is, can they do it when they're not at home? And we'll see within the next game, Game 3, which will be in this video. We didn't see that in Game 1. We didn't see Kobe show up. We did see the rest of the team show up, but we saw the most important element of this, Kobe Bryant, not really be present in there. But in this game, we did see that Kobe, 19 points, LeBron, 16 points, James Harden, 21 points, Tucker, though, with only 3. So you begin to see that, like, okay, shooting guards are really important in this game, but if your team is, like, selling, it's gonna be a really hard game for you. You need everybody to really contribute, and if you look at the Light Force loss last week, the exact same situation. Hennessy, 0 points. Like, you can't have that happen. You gotta have the team being cohesive. And sure, coach forgot to put in the main lineup, so backups had to play. But even then, if Ryan Hennessy is not a scrub. He's a veteran. He knows his presence. In those types of situations, you are that guy. Just take that shot. Just get the ball in your hand and actually do something with what you've been given. So team play and also shooting guards are shooting guard play is becoming really important. Some updates, of course. Michael Blackman, really, really unfortunate for him. And that's another discussion. But basically, in one of the final weeks, he was injured. Speculated to be some pretty bad stuff, and it is past speculation now. MCL, ACL, just overall a really, really bad injury. And it didn't seem as bad in the moment, but I mean, here we are, and it's definitely not a good one. And the torn Achilles as well. So hopefully next season, this resurgence for him will be strong enough. And actually, in previous weeks, there was not even certainty that he would be able to play again. But hoping that the surgery goes successfully. We'll see in the future updates. This is now Game 3, of the HBA playoffs. And like I was saying before, we were gonna get these games, and this one was a really polarizing game, as you will end up seeing in the end. Westbrook's gonna take that 3 and 1, followed by Royce Lee. So this was a 1-point game at this moment. And it always felt like the Light Force in these past couple games have been finding ways to get them to be kind of space themselves out with the Spirits, as we see in this game, 36-30. The Light Force have done what they needed to do in order to win these games. Now, when it comes to the fourth quarter, the real question is, why exactly does everything kind of slow down? If you watch, it's such a weird comparison. This is almost exactly like when I watch the Vikings, in real life. Exact same thing. What you're gonna see here is quite astonishing. For 50-41, remember the score, 50-41, 52-44. AD is injured. Jones for 3, hits that one. 1:20 remaining now. Westbrook, a shot of a lifetime. this one to make it a 1-point game with 22 seconds remaining. And now a really polarizing moment. Westbrook missed the 3, and he only has to settle for a layup right there. So ultimately, Light Force win game 3 and now come from behind. Technically come from behind, but they end up coming back in the series, being down 0-1, and now they are 1 game away from completely owning this series. But was that a foul at the end of the play? I'm gonna have to slow that one down in the replay, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. This is game 3 now for the Renegades and the Lakers. And like we were talking about before, can the Lakers ultimately show up when they're at an away game? Find out here. Marshall hits the layup right there. It's 15-6. It's just things are not looking good. Shaq with the steal. They only scored a layup on that possession. Harden just left it wide open, and he makes that one. I mean, Harden is just in his bag in this game. Sin move, stolen, and unfortunately couldn't get the shot off. But it's an 8-point game at the half, and I don't even know what just happened right there. Marshall makes the shot in. Had to circling Tucker, Harden for 3.
3 points away, team.
And you're just gonna see this game just break down completely. And as a Lakers fan, you just have to be demoralized. Stolen right there, 49-32, 17-point game. And now a 20-point game. A 20-point game in game 3 of the playoffs.
Home team possession.
And I mean, what more is there really to say? 54-32, 54-35 here, so a little bit better. Only now a 17-point game as it's 54-37. Harden was injured on that possession. And man, just awful. Exactly what happened to the Renegades in the game before is what's happening to the Lakers now. Just 50% from both 3 and field goal. 50% from 3 isn't terrible, but it's just not going to get things done. Magic back from his injury, 14 points. He was really the only factor in that game. James Harden, another 20-point game for him. And like I was talking about before, an overall great game for the Renegades. For Coach Ethan, he said, remember that. And then only to find out that his Spirits ended up losing the game. So, pretty interesting. One of the perspectives that was talked about, though, throughout all of the media was that a foul? Was it the right call? Did the refs make the right call? One of, I think, the biggest discussions is, what does it take for the Light Force to finally not choke their big leads? I understand it's the playoffs. You're facing a good team, the Spirits, but you're up by like 8 points. You're a good enough squad. I mean, they're clearly demonstrating they're a good enough squad. They beat them at an away game. They only lost by 5 with the backups in. And these games, they appear closer, but in reality, they weren't close. Even the score should have been 55-58 at the end of that game. Russell ends up getting the board, layup, 57-58. It realistically wasn't that close, though. It was a last-second garbage bucket. I want to know what your perspective is in the comments down below. So last-minute discussion. We'll also post this game as well, but Jordan Sosa, prospects for the elites, coming up in this next season's draft, is looking like a #1 prospect. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.